Ilatorious, victorialus, Erastus, necessitas, Horarius, despondeo, Spiritus Obdomio, Patriarcha Gladiator, Offictio Divinitas salutaris, Vertivas libertas.
Hello my brothers, this is the Order. Welcome back to the Order, I'm the Celtic Templar. And today we're getting back into our how-to video series on the 1st to 3rd century Irish. And while doing research for the Irish noblemen of the 1st to 3rd century, I ended up coming across more information on the Irish Roman auxiliaries. So I hear many people already asking this one. Templar, what are the Irish Roman auxiliaries, you might ask? Well, that's actually a really good question, because one, I've been asking myself that one a while back now. And the best way to say the least is they were what you would call a militarized auxiliary unit from Ireland. Now, I want to put this out here, we gotta take the information about these guys with like a grain of salt, because unfortunately there are multiple information on them from different sources, such as Tacitus, Dio, and a couple of very little known Roman historians, such as Agorus Potatus. I don't know if I mispronounced that anyways, but yes. Now they have different accounts of what these warriors could have looked like, what they could have fought like, what they've been used like, so yeah. Because if you believe the Tacitus accounts, he states that there were about 3 auxiliary units, or something like that, of which could comprise of 1 naval unit and 2 amounts of 2 legions. While if you just read from Dio's account, apparently it states that there was only of 1 unit, and it was meant for naval purposes only. And they were, so pretty much they have a best understanding is that these guys were a naval coast guard, if you would, for the island of Britain, and to, well, deal with piracy and all that. The problem is they would also become pirates themselves and attack Roman locations all throughout Britannia, which is probably why they didn't last very long up to the 3rd century. In fact, these warriors would also be accounts of being raiders and attacking provinces all along the said western coast of Britain. However, there are some accounts that even go as far as the southern locations of Britain, so we don't have much evidence, to say the least, of archaeological accounts, but mostly from written accounts. But that's our best understanding of what it could have actually been led to, and that would probably lead to the reason why the Romans stopped using them in the military. Of which, if you think about it, if you had to rely on such as groups from the far west to protect a coastline, you're a majority of an island region, I probably wouldn't accept it at all. Now, from what accounts I can read, is that these guys would have been used as, well, a bodyguard unit. In other words, say for example, the Roman legions are needed elsewhere in the empire. So what are you going to have to do? Well, you're going to have to call in for the auxiliary to protect. And rather than give the locals weapons, the Romans thought, hey, let's give these foreigners weapons, and they can defend our territory. Yeah, we all know that's not going to work. Call it the bargain, though. But yeah. Now, you will see me don on this armor, but as well, this type of armor, the mail, would have been rarely worn, apparently. In fact, it's actually stated that only 1 in every 10 to 15 men wore mail, yet they could afford it. Now, as I said, this depends on the accounts from whoever you're reading from, because I can't exactly say who is right and who is wrong in this department. Now, however, it is stated, though, that the Roman Irish Auxiliary Unit commanders, or lieutenants, or whatever you want to pronounce it, or officer corps, they would have worn scale armor to mail. So, this means that, one, they would have been different. Now, I'm not going to wear it outside, because one, I'm going to have to switch out armors for that, but you will see me don it on in our, very soon. Now, the weapons and armor they could have used varies from unit to unit, but what about the, now I hear many of you all, but Templar, you said that only 1 in every 10 to 15 men would wear mail. Well, yes. Now, they could afford it. The thing is, they chose not to afford it. In fact, as I said, there are many accounts that state that they would rather go off drinking and whoring and such and put their wealth to better uses. Of what that means, I have literally no idea. Though some historians state that they might have taken the mail and brought it back to Ireland and kept it there without the Romans knowing. Which seemed the fact that, one, these auxiliary units would later become pirates and raid all along Britannia, that kind of makes sense. Now, as for their other equipment, the helmets would vary from user to user, but the majority of times they would have preferred this coolest design, and I prefer it a little more because I could see why, which these were the older variations. And the Romans thought to themselves, you know what, just give these older models to them, it'll be easier. Now, though, a lot of people would end up asking, but Templar, what about their other helmets? Did they wear any others? Yes, but this was the most common, and I could see why. The problem is, it does not have any ear holes, and it pretty much makes it very easily to deflect weapons. But I think the reason behind this was, one, they wanted their auxiliaries to be more focused on the battle at hand, rather than worrying about this guy to the left and right. Now, as for their spears, well, their spears varied from user to user, and also from historian to historian, because unfortunately, historians state that they used a spear-like shaft, mostly for thrusting use on the battlefield, but there are accounts of light javelins like this being used. Other accounts state that they used 2 forms of small light javelin. Now, other accounts also state they used the Roman pilum. So I can't say which one was correct or which one wasn't. So that's kind of the thing. Now, what most accounts I have read, though, state that they wore or used a broad-bladed weapon that was long and yet could reach at a good distance for more cutting and thrusting use. So that makes sense. Now, of all the accounts I have read, apparently they also used single-bladed short gladius, or broad-bladed gladius swords. But that doesn't make any sense, so yeah. Because I have never heard of a gladius being single-bladed, nor have I ever heard of accounts of it being long. So I think the historians were writing something up in order to make something else up. Now, they would have also used some sort of short sword or short pugio like dagger like this. This is a pugio, but it's the best estimation I can get to. Now, their footwear would have still been of their region and country. Now, some accounts do state that they wore the caligae. Other accounts say no, they didn't. So I can't say which one is correct or not. So yeah, I'm just going off of what I could read from both mostly Cassius and View. Now, their shields varied from historian to historian, but I can also see this happening, is that they would have used two types of shields. One, the infamous oval shield, like this, which would have been extremely common by the auxiliaries, and as well, the lighter round shield, which would have been more used for naval combat. Now this one I kind of believe a little more, because especially if you're a naval unit, you gotta have something small and a little more designed for close quarters and naval style warfare. Now, don't get me wrong, the oval shield can do that, but not as well. So yeah. Now, other accounts I have read state that they were also used as cavalry corps. I don't believe they would have been used as cavalry corps, because one, you're not gonna end up getting a good use for these units, especially if how many, because literally I have to put this out here, there are multiple accounts that state of what they were used for and what their equipment was, so I can't say what they looked like, but this is my best estimation of what they could have looked like. And if I actually did my research correct on the Irish Raider, for example, if none of y'all have seen that video, I highly recommend checking it out, so that way you can see what the Irish Raiders might have looked like. But this is to be the best estimation look of what they could have looked like as the auxiliary. But how about we get right into the video, shall we?
Mist of night, the pale stars calling, distant seas where darkness falls. Can you hear spirits longing?
wasn't that fun. Now, as y'all saw, me moving this equipment, I felt no fatigue whatsoever. So that's what I kind of like. Now, I'm a little winded though because one, this scarf is kind of obstructing my wind passage. Whew, but it still works, I have to say the least. Now, some of y'all would start to ask this one, Templar, what was your equipment? How did this work? Well, as y'all saw with me moving around, I felt little fatigue with the oval shield than I did with the regular round shield, because one, the round shield you can, it is lighter, but the problem is this would be more suitable for, say, combat effectiveness, especially if you're marching around and you have to put your knee on it. As you can see, I'm putting my knee like right on the shield, which helps it stabilize. In doing so, I don't have to move it around as much as I would with the said round shield. Now, I could see why Tacitus would actually write and state that the Irish auxiliaries would have preferred to use a smaller oval, a very small buckler size type of shield. Now, he didn't use the word buckler. I'm just saying that because one, that kind of sounds like it would have been. Because he says it would have been smaller than their round shields, would have been something like this. And he says that it covered little of the body. Now, I don't know if this was a round a buckler or not, but that kind of sounds like a buckler shield to me. But other accounts he also stated is that the small shield would have been small enough that it would have hung on, that many times over the auxiliaries that hung them on their swords, which that sounds like a buckler to me. I don't know if any of y'all say otherwise, but to me that sounds like a buckler shield. Now, in light of historical education of these warriors, most of the time when I did research on them, there is little to no information, which is kind of sad. Now, as y'all saw with the auxiliary officer, for example, in our little video, you saw that he was wearing a Roman Legionnaire's belt, and he was wearing scale. Now, many of y'all are going to say, oh, Templar, that's a hit. Only a Roman auxiliaries wouldn't wear that, only a Roman Legion would. Well, yes, but see, the thing is, in historical texts on them, it states that the auxiliaries would have worn a decorative belt that protected their lower leg. The officers mostly would have worn these decorative belts, of which they stated to have been incredibly decorated with such jewels and gold. So I don't know whether or not that one is true, but it kind of sounds like a Roman Legionnaire's belt. Now, some of y'all might ask this one, did they have any crossbowmen? Did they use any bows and arrows? Did they use any slings? Maybe. As I said, this was a very little talked about unit. But mostly in my belief, especially from the historical text, that these guys were more used as a form of shock infantry or shock naval marine force. And seeing by the way they were used, like their equipment, I could see why. But yeah, to me, I kind of like this equipment actually a little bit. Now, if y'all want to get your hands on some historical equipment like this, where to find it and such, I will leave links down below in the description, because a lot of y'all ask me every time, where do you get your equipment? I will leave links on where I got this particular equipment. That way y'all can understand the equipment and history. Now, if some of these items are discontinued, I can't help you out there, sadly. Now, as for the tunic here, I know a lot of you are going to ask, what about this strange under tunic you're wearing underneath your mail? Well, this would have been made out of wool, and it would have been a form of shock absorber, which I could see why the Romans might have stated, hey, they didn't need the mail shirt. But if you think about it, these auxiliaries, they could have stolen it and hid it away, which kind of sounds like the Irish raiders. They knew how to attack certain areas in the coast of Britain, And they only attacked when Rome was weak. And Rome was weak and struggling a lot during the 1st to 3rd century. Now, it wasn't weak militarily, but it was weak in political form, to the point that Rome went through several civil wars. So, yeah. That's kind of saying the least. But what do y'all think? Do you think that they were a good unit or a bad unit? Because me personally, I think they were a badass unit in history. Though I wouldn't want to give foreigners weapons in order to defend a certain area, especially an island nation, that of which Rome had to deal with going back to constantly. But as well, a lot of y'all are going to ask, what about this I'm wearing around my neck? This is a Celtic torque. The torque is also a form of status symbol to show I am a free man. And the fact is, a lot of times over, many of these Irish auxiliary units were, brought to them by Irish chieftains. And Irish chieftains were rewarded tenfold. Now, that's saying the least. So in doing so, the Irish could have, been used as a form of payment or a tax, if you would. Now, some Roman generals wanted to attack Ireland and such at the time, but the thing is, it's like the Roman military, the Roman government said, nope, just don't, just don't. And I can see why, because if you take a look at the map, Ireland is far away, and Britannia was even also farther away. But with Ireland, it was even further. So if you put that into logistics account, yeah, the Romans made a good choice not to invade Ireland, but just to pacify it. And the one way the nobles did that is by sending in their men to, fool with the Romans. In other words, hey, let's go and join the Roman military, and let's later betray them by becoming pirates. Pretty much sounds accurate to it. But yeah. What do y'all think? Let me know in the comments below what warrior in history you want me to look up next. And if y'all have any suggestions on equipment we might have missed that could have been used in this video, please let me know in the comments below. Maybe we'll do a redo, maybe we won't. I don't know. It depends on what we end up finding out in the later history books, so yeah. But as well, guys, like and subscribe for more, and as well, if y'all have that buddy that is into Roman history, have him look this one up, because he might need one to look this one up, because he's probably never heard of them, so yeah. But if anybody has any ideas on other equipment videos we should be doing in later videos, let me know in the comments below. As well, y'all, we will be getting, after our Irish chieftain video, we will be getting into the late Roman Britons yet again. Then we will get into the 11th to 12th century Scotland, and then the German warriors at the time. And after that, we will go into our new series for the summer. And I want y'all to vote for this one, because this one, there are certain groups that are taking the lead. Majority of Bronze Age culture. So, I'd like to see y'all actually take a look at this one. So, yeah, if y'all want to take a look at it, just check out the community area, do your vote, and we're going to see who wins this one, because we're going to probably do the vote for about hopefully maybe a month, depending on how well it goes, if there are any ties. So, yeah. Anyways, guys, like and subscribe for more. Hope to see y'all in the next one. Have a great day, y'all.